Hi, I'm Shannon Grissom. Are you looking to ignite your creativity? Or how about be inspired by a steady stream of muses? Welcome to Painterly Life, the podcast that celebrates those who create, inspire, and innovate. So whether you're looking to spark your next big idea, reignite your passion, or simply soak in some creative energy, this is the place for you. Painterly Life, where every guest is a new muse, just for you. Well, hello, welcome to the Painterly Life podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Grissom. Today, we are joined by Paul Overton, the creative mind behind Object Lesson Interiors. Paul transforms thrifted, gifted, invented, and found treasures into soulful, sustainable spaces that tell a story. And boy, do they. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Shannon. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Good.
So I was wondering, as a kid, I was always redesigning my bedroom, and my parents were really cool about letting me just have at it. So what was your childhood like?
Oh, my childhood. Well, I'm a child of two artists, so that'll give you I'm Generation X as well. So we were left to our own devices a lot in our generation, and so I was allowed to do a lot of things probably that kids aren't allowed to do today. I got to make a lot of things. I got to create a lot of stuff, a lot of artwork when I was a kid. I used to sit next to my dad while he did paintings, and I would try to do the same painting he was doing when I was little, things like that. So I've always had that. And my master's degree is actually in technical theater. I was a scenic artist for a while and a prop man, a set designer, and general dog's body around theater for a long time. So I've always been around the arts and always been creating stuff.
Wow. I mean, what an incredible experience to be raised by two artists. That's just awesome.
There are ups and downs.
So what got you into sustainable design?
Well, I've always had sort of an eco bent with everything that I've done, and I love designing interiors, but the industry itself is heavily weighted toward new things, toward replacing things every couple of years. And I've always had a real penchant for antiques and used things and vintage things. And in fact, I owned a vintage store for a little while. And I just love taking unexpected things that have a history to them and putting them in other contexts in spaces and making design out of that. And so, I've always tried to do as much as I can with as little as I can. That's the other thing that I try to get across to my clients is we don't need to spend a whole lot of money. You probably have a lot of things sitting around already that just aren't styled in a way or just aren't being used effectively in a way. And we can take those things that are meaningful. That's the other thing, things that are meaningful to the client, parts of their history, gifts they've received, things that they've picked up at flea markets, things like that, and put them in different contexts in their house. So it becomes more of an ensemble of things that relate to each other rather than just a random series of objects that are lying around and not styled. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. The meaningful is the key. So
it is the key. Yeah.
Can you talk about, you've got a TGIF method. Can you talk about that and explain that for us?
Sure. Thrifted, gifted, invented, or found is the acronym that I use a lot of times. So thrifted obviously are things that you have purchased from flea markets, thrift stores, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, other things like that. Gifted, of course, are gifts that have been meaningful to you that your family or your friends have given you, or things that they can give you, you can ask for, things like that. Invented are things that we make together, usually. So that can be pieces of art, that can be pieces of furniture, that can be different vignettes in the house that are made of different things. And then found are things that you find on the street, or it's a dumpster find, or it's things that are basically free and are come upon in some way. I find a lot of things like that as well. In fact, I just did this weekend, I was just volunteering at the Point Richmond Dumpster Day down in the Bay Area. And that's when all the residents of Point Richmond can throw away stuff that they don't want. And every year that I do that, I swear I pull out at least like I don't know, half a dumpster full of stuff that is just absolutely either new or can have a new life for it, or what. I just pack my car at the end of every one of those days with garden pots and brand new IKEA furniture in the box, and it's amazing what people throw away. It really is. So if you can get into something like that, or the bulky waste pickup day is another great way to find used things, right? Especially if you know some more wealthy neighborhoods around where you live, if you can drive around on bulky waste pickup day, it's incredible what goes in the garbage. Honestly, you can just cruise around the night before and just be picking up all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So those are the 4: thrifted, gifted, invented, or found. Yeah. And that's where we start with every client, Yeah.
I was wondering along those lines, is there a certain aspect of TGIF, one of those components, that sparks your creativity first, or is it just all random depending on the situation?
It depends on the situation and what people own already. For me personally, I love the thrifted aspect of it because I love going to flea markets. I love flea market people. I used to be a flea market vendor for a while, so I love that vibe all the time. I love that. I love the people who do it, and I love to bargain as well. I love to negotiate, and I love to see everybody come out with a win-win in that situation. And so, yeah, I really like thrifted a lot. And luckily in the Bay Area, we have one of the best flea markets in the country in the Alameda Antiques Fair that happens every month. And then there's lots of other little flea markets that are also really great. The Oakland Vintage Fair, smaller things, some things that are just clothes, things that are just furniture. So we're spoiled for choice in terms of flea market and thrifting around the Bay Area. That's for sure.
Well, I know you've got a technical background, mm-hmm. and the creative side, and you do a podcast. How do you balance all of that?
Oh, well, it's always a trick, right? I mean, some things are very scheduled. Like the podcast is very scheduled, as you know, that kind of thing. But the creativity takes me, where it will a lot of the time. If I'm not working for a client, if I'm doing creative things myself, like I used to make a lot of lamps out of. I still do, but I used to make a lot more lamps out of antique objects that I'd find at the flea market, old space heaters and, things like that. And, that's just when it strikes me. I just made a lamp the other day and I hadn't made a lamp in a few months, but it's just fun. The object is there. The inspiration is there, So some ways I wait for inspiration and sometimes I kind of push it, and go, oh, you need to be doing something, with your hands for sure. I can always tell when I need to be doing something creative that's not on the computer because my body just says, you can't sit here. You have to go do something else, And so I usually go put my hands in the dirt, I'll work in the garden or I'll pot something or I'll propagate some plants or I'll make a lamp or something like that. It's always a very clear delineation for me, like when I need to not be sitting around anymore. I need to do. My mother calls it craft deficit disorder, right? When you absolutely need to do something with your hands, but you don't really have an idea, but you got to go do something. So you might as well get dirty in some way, whatever that is, even if it's just sweeping the walkway or something. It's a physical thing that uses some creativity. Yeah.
That's a perfect name for it.
Yeah.
Do you ever run out of ideas? Do you ever get blocked?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It depends on what medium I'm working in. I often get writer's block. That's one thing. I write quite a bit, and so that sometimes I have to come up with themes and things like that for some groups that I run, and sometimes I get blocked with that stuff. But in terms of creating physical things, I don't really get blocked. I mean, the object itself gives me so many ideas. Like when I see an object, if I'm going to make a lamp, and I see something at the flea market, I already have finished that project in my head. So I know exactly how it's going to go because I've done enough of them, or I'm like, okay, I look and I see the level of difficulty I'm going to go through, like how much I need to take apart, how many tiny pieces there are. Is there a place to put a light bulb in there? All these other things, where can I hide the cord? And, if all those things are check, then I'm just buying that object and it's done. There's no inspiration needed because I already finished it in my head. It's just picking a color or leaving it patinaed or whatever that I have to choose from there.
So for the writer side of it, how do you get yourself out of there? How do you push yourself over the...
Well, I don't use AI to write, but I do use AI for idea generation sometimes. Sometimes I'll have longer conversations about, just making different connections, I find. So I might have a central idea, but then it's not long enough. I want to spin off that idea into something else, where I need to have several levels of that idea or things that relate to that idea. So I'll often put in my premise or something like that and ask GPT or whatever to spin off different related things, and then I'll take the inspiration from that. So I find AI writing terrible, but but using AI for conversations, especially philosophical conversations, I find very helpful because you can pull a lot of information together all at one time very quickly. That's what I like about it. So as a research tool, I find it fascinating and very cool. As a creative tool, I'm very suspicious of it, and I don't like it. In terms of it generating art and writing and things like that, I'm against that. But as a research tool, it's phenomenal. I think.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go back to the central core of meaning and making meaning.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the meaning aspect of your work?
Sure. I mean, everything in my house, you can see a lot of stuff behind me is kind of blurry now, but everything in my house has some kind of meaning to me, one way or another. And if it doesn't have meaning, I'm not putting it up. And that could be as simply as it sparks an emotion in me. It doesn't need to have some kind of nostalgic meaning to me, or somebody close to me gave it to me or something. It can be something orange, which I love orange. It can be, it's things that will evoke the way I want to feel in my home all the time, just for me personally. And like whatever anybody else thinks of my home, it doesn't really matter to me. Some people think it's great. Some people walk in and go, wow, there's a lot of stuff on the walls in here, and they're kind of overwhelmed. So for me, the meaning part means it just has to be personal to me or personal to the client to do it. And that's what I try to get across. I often take clients to the flea market or shopping in other places, and I tell them it's what speaks to you, and think about why it speaks to you, and think about what the story is that you're telling with that object when you bring it home. And do you want to live with that story all the time, or is this like a temporary, is it a temporary flash of emotion where, oh, I love that thing, but in 3 months you're not going to love it anymore. So, and I do change my place quite a bit. I don't take all the art down off the walls and put up new art, but I do change out paintings, and I do change out vignettes in the house and make it, just freshen it up a little bit, so I can be more surprised when I walk through. Because even if you love your house, after the 1,000th time you walk through the same thing, maybe it needs a little refresh. But I try to refresh with things that I already have, or things that I follow the TGIF rule, but generally things that I already have. I find just switching things that I already have onto different walls creates a whole nother vibe in the place a lot of the time. So, and I have quite a bit of things in this small space.
I agree with, just changing one thing, and it's kind of like it's like a domino thing. You change one thing, and that affects the relationship between this, and this, and then the whole thing has shifted, and so sometimes I will have shifted it and taken it over the top and have to bring it back, but that's half the fun, right? Yeah. It's
interesting, the balance thing in doing that. As you say, it's a domino effect sometimes, where you can do one thing and it affects absolutely everything else. And I find that there's an overall balance in every room that I'm searching for, and then there's a lot of little islands of balance that I'm searching for in terms of vignettes that I'm putting up and things like that in there. So I have a lot of flat surfaces all the time because I love objects on tables and bookcases and on the walls and everywhere. So those can change a lot without really affecting the overall balance. The overall balance in the room, this room that I'm in right now, has more to do with the amount of lighting I have in it, and where that's, and the furniture placement, and generally the big ideas, right? And then the small ideas can keep changing, and they won't really affect the overall thing that much, So I find that if I change the small ideas and freshen those up, then I'm not really throwing 100 other things out of balance. Whereas if I took the big painting down from behind me, I would have to do a lot of work to rebalance that weight at the end of the room, if I was going to use something else. So
I was thinking about balance. If I'm out of balance in my physical space, it affects me internally.
Oh yeah.
Do you find that to be true with you and your clients?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of clients who just have the right ideas but the wrong execution a lot of the time, and it's just because they don't have experience. It's not that they're it's not that they don't have style. They absolutely have style. It's just that they haven't had the experience of how to combine things together to make that balance in their space, where they feel like when they walk into a room, it's like, oh, yes, I'm home. That's what I want to feel. When I walk into every room, I want to feel, oh, yeah. And a lot of that has to do with clutter in my clients' cases. You know, I try to really not have clutter in my house. If one thing comes in, then another thing has to leave is my rule a lot of the time. You know, I think a lot of people follow that. I was kind of minimalist for a while, and I've gotten over that. But I'm not a. I wouldn't say I'm a maximalist in terms of I have a lot of crap around. I would say I'm a maximalist in terms of, you know, I have a lot of objects, but they're all very well organized in the house. So, so that's that.
So you do a lot of teaching. So can you tell me about that and the subjects that you teach?
Sure. Yeah, my classes are on hiatus right now, but usually I've been teaching online through meetup.com. I have a group called Beginning Interior Decoration, and that has over 300 members now, something like that. And I've taught everything from color theory to tricks of the trade in terms of, you know, measurements you can use in your house, so everything seems more balanced in furniture placement and heights of furniture and relationships between furniture, like coffee tables, and, you know, and so all those things that make a space feel relaxed and nice to be in. I've taught we do a thing called Design Dojo, which I really like, which is a very relaxed thing where I grab 20 pictures from the internet of different spaces. And then what we do is we just go through and we discuss those spaces, what we like about them, what we don't like about them with the students. And then I offer guidance on why maybe, you know, or while they're right on, or maybe they could be a little bit off. It could be seen in this direction or that direction. So Design Dojo is really fun because it's much more interactive. I'm not just teaching. But gosh, I've taught almost everything. And I taught a class on how to do gallery walls, you know, because everybody wants to do a gallery wall now. They all have a lot of artwork and they want to put it up. It's very popular on apartment therapy and Pinterest to have gallery walls. So I taught one on just gallery walls, you know, all kinds of things. I taught one just on the TGIF philosophy, you know, and how to find things and how to create meaning in your space. So lots of different subjects.
Are you finding that the more interactive classes fuel your own creativity?
I like the interaction because when you teach online, as I do, it's often I was a teacher for a long time of adults and kids, and so there's nothing that can equal being in the room with other people. You know, I mean, that's really, you really get a feeling for the class that way. It's much harder to do online. So the interactive classes I find them more energetic for me because I'm not just having to carry the whole weight of the entire conversation. People are talking back, people are taking turns, people are stating their opinions, and it's just more fun to do that. But I enjoy the teaching classes as well, and I've got a good core group that is getting better at asking questions and participating in every class, no matter what. At first, nobody would ask any questions. I would just do an hour of monologuing on one thing. You know, I go, I don't know how that went. We'll see how the star ratings are afterwards, right? But now I have a much more interactive base crew that kind of stays in and goes, hey, wait a minute, tell me about that, you know, kind of thing. And so that's much more to my liking.
So what's the most creative response you've had from one of your students?
Most creative responance. Gosh, they're all
like
pretty
a project
funny.
that they tackled or something, something trippy that they did as a result of the class.
Yeah, well, I had one student take up reselling as a career because she was so inspired by, you know, her. I went over and did a gallery wall at her house. She started as my student. She ended up being my client and now my friend. Actually, she's really great. But she was in a job that she wasn't really liking, and she started to sell art on the side, and now she's like a used art dealer. And it's quite amazing. She did it all in like 6 months, and she's making some pretty good money on it. So she goes to flea markets and estate sales, and she really goes to it though. She's very serious about it, you know. She bookkeeps well, and yeah, so she changed careers. I think that's pretty creative.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. And now she's doing something she loves. She's making less money, but she's doing something she loves, and she's still making good. Yeah, especially for the used art market, man. It's not easy to sell used art sometimes. Yeah. And she's got a good eye though, so she picks good stuff. She prices it right, and and now this is her new thing to do. So I'm very proud of her for just taking the leap and doing that. And it was a big learning curve for her too, to figure out what sells and what doesn't, and you know what she should be looking for. And she's really taken notes and done it 100%. So I'm really proud of her for that.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. I love it when people take off.
Me too. The more people who exit the corporate world, the happier I am about life. I think, you know,
I just
to do
feel
something creative.
I'm all about people following their bliss, and that's just awesome.
Me too.
So creativity, you've got to work with budget constraints, all kinds of restraints.
Yeah.
Like limited materials or client requests. Can you share a story of how some limitation actually fueled something really cool?
Gotcha. I'm thinking about an outdoor project that I did. It was a very low budget, and what she wanted was a sort of a rustic area in different levels for her plants, and she wanted a water feature, which can be quite expensive depending on what you do, and all these other things. And so I solved it by using barnwood or old fence wood, actually. There was a guy near me that was selling 6 foot lengths of fence wood that was gray and really nice, old looking wood for $1 a board. And so,
wow.
Man, I just filled my car with that. And so I built a multi-level shelving out of that and some 2x4 I had, or 4x4 I had lying around. And then I took I had an old copper tub that is with a lid, the kind you did laundry in, way back then, and so I don't know, it's 15 gallons or whatever. And you've probably seen this in my yard. I made another one for myself, but I made her a water feature out of that with some pond plants in it, and the whole thing. She was really happy with the whole thing because it looked like it had been there forever, but it cost, I think I spent a total of less than $150 on the entire project, including the pump and the stuff I needed for the pond and the plants. And yeah, she already had the plants that went on the shelves, but all the lumber and stuff was basically under $20. I think I used 20 of those boards, something like that. So it was $20 for the boards and some 4x4 I had laying around. So that was a pretty good workaround in terms of budget. She was really happy with it, the way it turned out.
God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's been your biggest challenge in developing Object Lesson?
In developing Object Lesson, I think is to it's relationship. I think for the most part, because there's a lot of people who see what I do and they're like, oh, that's great, but then we're not really on the same page, and so I'm really picky with the clients I accept. I think so that the client process is the trickiest thing for me because I kind of know when somebody and I are going to be on the same page and go right down there, because I'm not going to go buy a new white boucle couch for you. That's not happening. That's it's environmentally terrible. They fall apart fast. Fast furniture or anything like that, I'm just not going to do that. We can use what you have. We can buy used things. We can even buy some new things, but they have to be of like real quality. So there's a whole, and also I like to develop a space over time. And a lot of people want the space done, and that's fine. I understand that. People are on deadlines and whatever. But if you're making a TGIF space, time is one of the factors because you're not going to get it all done at once. We can do a go through and a base level thing, but then we need to go and seek other objects or move objects or, find things to bring in that means something to you. Go into the things that you have from your parents and your grandparents and see what you could put out. And, so it's a time and development process. And not everybody wants to take that ride with me, The most important thing to me is relationship in the whole business, because it's not fun unless your client's fun and wants to go along with you. If I'm going to have a job at all, I want it to be fun.
That totally makes sense. I was thinking about I hadn't thought about the time factor. That's so important. And I think about just in my own home when I'm shifting things, I have to live with things for a little while to see if they truly resonate. They might, like you said, they might be this temporary thing, but so you might not know if a thing is working right away. There are some things that are like praying, this is awesome, but there are others you just gradually move into. So that's a really good thought. I had not considered that as a factor.
Yeah, I treat it like any other form of creativity. When you're painting or anything like that, there's usually, sometimes you nail it right out of the gate, but sometimes, a lot of times you have to step back from it and you go, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I think I need to let that sit for a while and then come back to it. There's a famous story about some famous artist, maybe you know who it is. I think it was Matisse or somebody, I can't remember, but there would be a point in every painting where he would be completely dissatisfied with it and overwork it and be so his wife would hide the painting. He would take it away and hide the painting for a couple weeks, and he would go nuts, and he would just be like, where's my where's my painting or whatever. And then, she'd bring it back and he'd finish it in a couple days, it's that kind of thing with interiors. It's that kind of thing with a lot of different types of creativity. I think you have to step back and say, I'm not sure, and be okay with that for a little while. I think we have a real penchant for finishing things quickly in this country, which doesn't always do us service. I think sometimes we need to step back and go, oh, okay, well, let me get some perspective on this, go away from it for a while, come back. That's everything. That's even like doing the crossword. Oh, I'm stuck on these, I'm stuck on these clues. Come back to it later. The patience thing is really important, I think, when you're developing anything that's creative.
Yeah. I've gained, I think my personality is more go, get it done. But
mine too, believe it or
art
not. Mine
has
too.
totally taught me patience and humbled me, and because it's not on my time frame.
No, it's very humbling sometimes, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I could be at the very end of a painting for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's why I'm always amazed at shows like Portrait Artist of the Year or Landscape Artist of the Year on BBC. They have 4 hours to do an entire painting, and I'm like, how do you do that in 4 hours? They can't even think. They just go, put color down. It's amazing. I don't have that skill.
Yeah, I did try to speed up my decision-making process. I did a series of small works, and I would set a timer and do like a 5x7 in an hour, and so this is like a tiny little thing, and then just stop, not go back into it, because there's a difference between doing a painting and then knowing you can go back into it, but there's a little more
for sure
pressure when trying to do that. So anyway, so I tried that, but bottom line is it's not done until the painting says it's done, and so I'm sure it's the same way with your interiors.
Yeah, I did a similar exercise with my students, actually, where I had them take 20 items in their house and then the breadboard out of their kitchen and put the breadboard down, and they had to make one vignette per minute and take a picture of it for 15 minutes. So I wanted 15 vignettes at the end of it using those 20 objects in different ways, and I tried to set them up so you're going to need contrast, so remember what colors and what you're choosing. You're going to need different shapes. You're going to need different levels in order to do it. So you're going to want to go between tall and short, and maybe have things you can set other things on. And you're going to want to have, colors that are, in one of the schemes we've talked about. And they did incredible stuff, and I gave them a bunch of photos to work from. I did the exercise myself, and it was really fun. They're not all brilliant, but a couple of them were really brilliant. I'm very happy with that, so it's sort of, to iterate in that way, I think, is a great thing for not only speeding you up, but for your creative thinking process, to take the same things and be forced into that. Limitation is great for creativity, right? It's just the best thing for creativity is to be, if you have an unlimited budget or unlimited options, then you're never going to do the best work that you've done, in my opinion. I think it's always about how much limitation can you put on yourself and still work your way into something beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
So how do you keep your creative well filled?
Well, I think as I get older, one of the things that I discounted when I was younger is to relate to the peaks and valleys of creativity as part of the process, right? As that I go through very rich periods and I go through very fallow periods, and I think the trick is to take those fallow periods and to understand that this is your chance to rest. This is your chance to consider, to think about new things, to maybe get out of your comfort zone, and maybe then that will propel you back up to the next peak. Often, for me anyway, of creativity. But when I was younger, I would think, like, why aren't the muses talking to me? I mean, I want to, I want to be creative all the time. I want to be making stuff and doing stuff all the time. So often I'll do things like the lamp making thing. I was making tons of lamps because I had a store and I was selling a bunch of them in the store. And after a while, I don't really feel like making lamps anymore. So I need to go do something else, to then get that passion back if it ever comes back. So those fallow periods I just relate to them as necessary rest and recharging for the next peak. Because if I spend my whole time being stressed out about not being creative while I'm in the fallow period, then I don't have the energy to make it up the next hill a lot of the time. I feel like you can stay there for a long time if you just, whatever you resist persists, right?
Yes.
Is what they say.
Yes.
So if you're resisting that fallow period in your creativity, I think it's just going to stay for longer. It's just like relax into it, let it happen. It's here for a reason. And then whoosh, you're up to the next peak. Yeah.
I love that you acknowledge the fallow period as a gift.
And, necessary gift. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I'll think
that's
about that
age,
the
age
next
and
time
wisdom.
it happens.
Yeah, right. It's still uncomfortable. I still don't like it, but I still fight against it, and I go, oh, this is one of those periods. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, just relax then, and we'll just ride it out till. And sometimes they're quite long. Sometimes they can last for months. When you're doing commercial stuff, that's not really great because you need to make money.
Yes.
But if you're doing art as a hobby or something like that, that's okay. It gives you go look at some new stuff. That's what I do. I try to go look at new things. I'll often go outside. I'll think, okay, well, let's consider this in a micro level out here. Let's look at everything around us. Let's look at what this leaf is doing and how these birds act and this thing and the trees and how everything's related. And sometimes that nature bathing just gives me a whole new sort of organic relationship to spring off of. I love that.
Yeah. So if along those lines, you're at this point when you are in the fallow period, you're engaging with the creative world differently, and part of your practice is slowing down. So and being more conscious, which is what you're describing.
Yeah,
so what's
more present? Yeah.
Yeah. What's one small step someone can use to add that into their life?
Well, I love slow walking. It looks weird when you do it, but like really slow walking. Go to a place not around the block because your neighbors will just worry about you if you do it outside. Right? You don't want that. Go to somewhere in nature. Go to a park or go to the woods or go to the beach or wherever you're going to go. But then walk extremely slowly. So you're being very present to everything around you. And I just try to clear my head of any other worries or concerns I have for the day. It's a meditative practice, it's meditative walking basically. But in mine, it's sort of a creative meditative walking. It's not just like emptying my mind of everything. It's being present and noticing more things. You can notice incredible things when you're taking your time to do that. And you also realize how much you miss when you're just walking through your day. You miss. Some people miss 100%. I mean, it's just their brain saying, "Okay, don't run into that tree," and that's all that they're thinking about. That's all their brain is doing while they're walking. Otherwise, they're thinking about their taxes or this or that. Yeah. But it's emptying yourself enough to then be completely present to your environment. And once you do that, you start to notice a lot of things that you wouldn't notice before. And that can go inside or outside. But I love doing slow walks outside because I just notice so many things. I took this brilliant picture of this leaf yesterday that was turning a little bit. It had red and orange and yellow and green all in one leaf, and it had this really interesting black part that ran up the side. Great. Wouldn't have never noticed that unless I was going slow around my block.
Awesome.
I love stuff like that. Yeah, love things like that. And meditation is good too. I also have a meditation practice where I do at least 10, 15 minutes a day, and sometimes quite longer. That also goes through peaks and fallow periods, right? Yeah. There's periods where I just don't want to sit on the cushion. Oh, I don't want to do it. And then there's periods where I'm like, I want to meditate all day. That kind of, so it just depends where I'm at. And, we beat ourselves up so much for, I think it has to do with Protestant work ethic and other things like that. And just the go grind culture in this country. We beat ourselves up so much when we're not doing something or when we're not into anything. And I think it just does us a great disservice. It's like, relax into it. It's okay. You don't need to be doing things all the time. It's not necessary. And in fact, it's not good for you to be doing that. It keeps your cortisol up and you're stressed. And you can't create well when you're stressed, and right. So I think those periods need to be embraced more so we can be more, so we can be better when we come back to the peaks.
Yeah, I think that's been one of my own personal biggest challenges is to being accepting that I don't have to be on 24/7, and yeah,
It's hard to get over, though, isn't it?
It's okay to stop.
It's okay to stop, but that's not what society tells you. So you really got to be a rebel here in this case a little bit and say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to follow the crowd. I'm not going to grind myself into the grave. I'm going to, I'm going to take time and be different. And that's hard sometimes because society goes, what?
Yeah, no, I
they don't like it.
I meditate, I take naps, I take walks, I do all that. And,
napping's something I've really gotten into in the last year as well.
Awesome.
Oh, napping is incredible. Oh my goodness. I never used to let myself do it at all. And then this last year I was like, when my body feels tired, I'm just going to lie down and see what, and sometimes I don't go to sleep, but it's still rejuvenating,
Yeah, it might only be a 10-minute thing. And then I come out and I'm my attitude is better. Everything is shifted. And if I see myself getting cranky or just, not feeling the love, then I'm like, okay, I need to either meditate, take a nap, do something, because this is not a good space to be in.
It's not a good space to be in. I get it. By the way, my dog loves it napping as well. He's like, oh God, we're going to bed in the middle of the day? Fantastic. This is what a treat. 2:00? Let's go. Let's go to bed.
Yeah, dogs have it down.
Yeah, they really do.
Wow. Well, you've been inspiring. Lots of things for me to think about. Where can folks find you online?
You can go to objectlesson.design. So instead of .com, it's .design at the end. And you can communicate. You can look at pictures of stuff that I've done there. You can read about TGIF there. You can find my class page link there. And you can contact me if you want to contact me to work with me or ask me questions. I'm open to that too. Any of those things. So.
Oh, that's great. I will put all that information in the show notes.
Great.
Well, thanks, Paul. You've been great.
Thanks so much, Shannon. It's been great to be here. It's been a really fun conversation. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in to Painterly Life. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share so that I can make more of these and keep us all inspired. That's a wrap. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.